We mentioned the idea of digital transformation, getting an organisation from where it needs to be from where it is now. And what we need to do is to assess our digital capabilities. So what I'm going to do is take you through a framework that talks about those digital capabilities and explain what they are. And what's quite interesting is none of them are actually really about digital marketing. What they're about is process and planning and leadership and IT and all the surrounding issues that actually make digital difficult. So you can see here we've broken down this capability into three key areas: essentials, readiness, and performance. And I'm going to take you through these stage by stage. And I'll talk you through the key kind of challenges, and then I'll talk about how you use this in practice. As a side note, when we go to do any consultancy project or anything else, we'll do a very quick calculation before we even consider doing any work. And we check the organisation against these different capabilities. If they score particularly low scores in some areas, we'll avoid doing that project because we know there is no way of succeeding. Let me explain that a bit more. So let's go through these. So first of all, the essentials. Leadership buy-in, the single most important thing that we're going to talk about. Leadership buy-in is basically saying, do the people in your organisation understand the importance of digital? Are they willing to join in this process? And fundamentally, will they help you when things need changing? You can pretty much change anything in an organisation if you have leadership buy-in. But without that leadership buy-in, things become almost impossible in some cases. You may need to do some education upwards. So it may be helping those people along the journey. It may be that you're making them feel more comfortable with some of the things we're going to talk about, but you need that leadership buy-in. And if it's not there, you need to get it. And if you can't get it, this is when we would see some real challenges. Team ability. Does your team have the skills and the ability to actually implement this stuff digital effectively? The reality of that is that if it's a very low team ability, it's very fixable. You use training and you use face-to-face training, online training, webinars, all sorts of different techniques, but you need to upskill your team. And you probably need to upskill across the organisation. It's not just the digital marketing people, it's more broadly across the organisation that need to understand the importance of this stuff and what impact it can have. Market readiness. Are the people you're targeting actually using this stuff in practice? It's great having a strategy for Snapchat, but if your target audience doesn't go near that channel, it's an absolute waste of time. So understanding your audience, understanding who they are, and actually considering the channels that they're going to use. So we need to go through and make sure we've got these things in place. Now, my next slide, due to a technical fault of my own, is missing, so I'm just going to go back a slide and just read from this one. The readiness column in the middle. Apologies if you can't see this very clearly. I'll make sure the slides are distributed with this slide in. Readiness is really important. So strategy. Do we have a digital strategy? Have we planned out what we're doing and why? But is that part of, or is it completely integrated with our marketing strategy and our overarching business strategy? All too often, the digital strategy and the marketing strategy are not connected in any way. Or the marketing team and the digital team aren't connected in any way. So you mean that an integrated strategy that considers what we're trying to do, why we're trying to do it, and how we're going to go about that. Governance. Governance is the social media policy, the internal service level agreements, things like escalation policies. Do we have the process internally for dealing with these kind of things? Do we know when something goes wrong, who's in charge of dealing with that? Where does the responsibility lie? And a social media policy, for example, shouldn't just be something that tells you what you can't do. It should be something that guides you through what you should do and what's the best practice way of approaching those kind of things as well. Infrastructure, one of the most important ones here, is really IT. It's the systems and to some extent the processes that we're using. So for example, does my email system speak to my customer relationship management system? Can I integrate those platforms? Infrastructure is always fixable, but it's, do you have the leadership buy-in to have the commitment to do that? Can you actually integrate with IT to implement these things? How much goodwill is there with IT to actually do these things? The biggest thing with infrastructure is it will slow you down. Most large organizations have massive infrastructure issues in terms of their systems, the databases, and data in different places. That's fixable, but it can take some time. And we've been working with some organizations for 4 years to fix their infrastructure issues. So for big global organisations, this can be a real slowdown from implementing a really effective digital strategy. Then next in readiness, we've got measurement. So do you know what you're measuring and why? And do you have clear sources for that measurement data? So we've gone through essentials, we've gone through readiness. And then finally, we need to look at the performance side of things. The two key things here, financial, and this is a really important one, and this is what we're going to talk through in just a moment in terms of a measurement framework. Those measurements we talked about just a moment ago within digital, are you able to connect those to your financial results? It's great measuring number of likes, it's great measuring how many people visit your website, how many people subscribe to your email, how many people visit your product pages, but can you actually prove that has any impact on the bottom line? If you can't, then you're going to face some real challenges in getting budget going forward and so on as well. And then finally, one of culture. Do you have a culture of innovation or test and learn? When something new arrives on the market, a new social channel or similar, do you have the resources and the commitment to try those things out in a controlled environment? Or is there a culture of saying, no, too risky, won't do those things? Because the problem is, in an environment where things are moving really quickly, what we tend to find is there won't be a case study for your type of organisation doing this yet. There won't be clear evidence if this is going to work or not. So we need to have a culture of trying things out, failing quickly, so we can move on to the next thing as well.